Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead here, and I thought, for no particular reason, I'd do a contest today. You don't have to subscribe to me, you don't have to give a thumbs up, you don't have to join my Patreon, you don't have to join my Discord. All you have to do is take a guess. There are two models in the picture behind me up here. If you can guess what both of those models are from, I will send you a prize. I don't know what the prize is. It might be some of my objective markers. Might be a model. I don't know. What something I've got lying around that I need to get rid of before I move house. And I have too much crap. So there you go. Those are the two models. They're from things. I've obviously very deliberately kept it a little bit hard to guess because that's more fun. Whoever answers correctly first wins something. Anyway, on to the video. Have a good day. Hello everybody, it's Glass Half Dead here, and today I am giving my big exclusive reveal. It's on my own channel, so it's not really that big of a reveal or surprise, I suppose, about the LGT, that's London Grand Tournament, and exactly the pack I'm going to run. So what are the primaries going to be? What are the secondaries going to be? What format is it going to take? And almost more importantly, what kind of deployments can we expect from it? On the Skype, it's not Skype, that's such an old term to use. On the Discord chat that I am currently doing, I have one of my Patreon guys, You Tie My Shoes, that's the name, right?
That's the name.
That's the name, You Tie My Shoes. He's on here so that he can live in the flesh, the digital flesh, give feedback, ask questions. We haven't gone over this before. He doesn't know what I'm about to say any more than any of my other patrons do. I don't think anybody knows what I'm about to say, including myself. So let's do this. Also, I am actually streaming this on Twitch right now. So if you're in the chat, I'm also going to be asking or answering any questions they have. But I'm not really trying to pimp out my Twitch channel, so you can find it quite easily if you want. Otherwise, I don't really care. Okay, so the LGT, it is going to have 6 missions, much like most current tournament packs do. It is going to use which one would you rather hear about first? These are the big changes: the primaries, the secondaries, or the deployment map layouts. You tie my shoes.
Is that from your
Yeah,
Twitch?
you get to
Oh,
answer.
okay.
You're the only one here. Yeah.
Let's go for the primaries.
Okay, primaries. So this took a lot of thinking. I'm going to be honest. I've been back and forth a lot about what should I do. I'm definitely not doing hold 1, hold 2, hold more, right? I think it's a dead format. That we moved from that, and we got a better game as a result of moving away from that, in my personal opinion. And as I'm the one writing the pack, that's what we're going to do. I could have just gone hold kill. Hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more. That's totally valid. That's what I'm currently playing. Well, when I'm not testing for my own pack. I really like it. I think it's a really big improvement over hold 3. However, I decided that I wanted to put, should I say my own spin on it, possibly? I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I didn't want to just put my own spin on it. I wanted to try and make a more balanced game. And that, of course, is why people are going to be giving me bollocks for doing this. So, here's the primaries. Hold 1, hold more. Okay. Kill more. Leader makes a kill.
Leader. Oh, that's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think hold 1, hold more makes sense. Everybody's happy with that, right?
Right.
Nobody's confused by that. We had it in both the original kind of arena format, and we've kept it as a holdover, kind of on the ITC format that we're going with here. So I don't think that needs to be discussed too much. Obviously, I could have completely changed it, but I wanted something familiar, and also objectives are incredibly important. My secondaries are going to be... There's going to be a good mix. There's going to be a good mix for you. But if you want to play a positional game, you will be able to. Anyway, let's get into the more interesting stuff. So, why did I go with kill more, leader makes a kill, right? Kill more. So what I've done here is I have removed kill 1 because I don't think it adds anything. Okay, no, hold on. So I had originally I had originally decided it was going to be hold more, kill more. However, I didn't like that it was only 3 possible points per round. And I really wanted to have another possible primary objective being able to be scored, because that makes it a primary as opposed to a secondary. I'd always felt a bit odd to me, like, why would you have the potential primaries able to be scored the same as the potential secondaries, like, per round?
Okay, so and that's how it is in the original packet, right?
Yes,
the original packet is 9 total, and then 9 for the secondaries, and then we saw a lot of teams basically you would win by maximizing the secondary point, because everybody would kind of try to get the primary.
Yes. And, also, there is a slight variation to that, because obviously the primaries... Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking of a modified pack. This is another issue I have. I've played a lot of packs recently. I'm getting them confused. No, you're exactly right. You could score on the primaries and the secondaries. You could score a potential of 3 each turn, up to a maximum of 9 for each. So calling them the primary and the secondary, a little bit not confusing. That's the wrong term, obviously. The secondaries were chosen, whereas the primaries were set. That was the difference, really.
That was the difference. Yeah.
So, why would I go with... So I've removed kill 1. I don't think that adds anything to the game. And I didn't want killing to be the primary. Obviously, I'm mixing up terms here. But I didn't want killing to be the main
Too
goal.
Heavy.
Yeah. However, so I went with kill more. It's still only a single point per turn, up to a maximum of 12. However... why would I go with leader makes a kill? Obviously, I'm phrasing that quite poorly. When I actually write it down, it might be something else. But basically, if your leader takes a model out of action, you get a point. That's pretty big, okay?
And is it repeatable, or is it 1 per turn?
It's 1 per turn.
Got it.
1 per turn. So, this has some very immediate... buffs and nerfs to certain factions, right? For example, people are not going to be able... Well, you've also... Okay, so there are things to consider. It's totally okay. Obviously, people are talking about Orcs now, right? Orcs, they typically run a Gretchen leader. Gretchen leader's not going to get kills.
Well, Emmanuel's Gretchen leader.
Well, we're not all Emmanuel, are we? We can't all manage that. Yes, and as other people point out, Psychers, that's basically 3 points, right? So obviously it affects the different factions in different ways. Grey Knights, Thousand Suns. Although, to be fair, Thousand Suns, a lot of people don't run the Sorcerer as the leader. They run him as the combat or the veteran. They might be changing that now.
And you had Zangor as the leader. Yeah.
Yeah. Grey Knights, well, that's, Grey Knights. What can you do?
I think, sorry to jump in.
Yeah, go for it.
I think we can probably discuss the differences between Thousand Suns and Grey Knights in that respect, because I think it makes a big difference that the Thousand Suns only have a couple of designated psychers, and the Grey Knights, everybody's a psycher in the hold kill. In terms of countering.
Sure. What is the... Do you have a direct question? Sorry.
I guess this is just jumping to whether or not you think it would be like overpowered on the Thousand Suns, and even if you make the psyker guy the leader to rack up the kills, it's still kind of one guy you need to take out. Actually, I guess that's the same with Grey Knights, right? As long as it's just the leader that's getting the points from it, it's one guy to take out. Yeah, and if you're doing the kill one, kill more against somebody like Grey Knights, it's just you can't stop it. It just keeps coming. They're always going to kill, and there's no one thing you can do to prevent them from getting the kill one, kill more. They're always going to be doing 2 side vaults until you literally get them down to 1 guy. So there's no counter. So I do like that. I don't think it's as overpowered for a leader to have a psychic ability that he's getting points for as it is for the kill one, kill more, if that makes any sense.
My main reason for putting this as a thing was partly to encourage big point models. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
More so obviously the incentive to get your leader out there is great in the first place, because we all know what leaders do. As people are saying, they're a Gretchen, they're a cultist, they're a regular guardsman. You hide them in the back, they don't do anything for the game. You can still play that way. That's totally fine. You can hide your leader. You're just not getting that 4th point every turn. However, don't forget that the way primaries work, you can only score a maximum of 12. That's 4 for 3 turns. You are still able to max the primaries, even if you don't have your leader capping it.
Yes, because it's 3 times 4.
Yeah.
You can get to the 12. The leader doesn't contribute. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So if you hold one, hold more, kill more every turn, you are still able to cap primaries. You don't have to do the leader thing. However, for some people, you might want to think about, hey, I really want that point, because I've already, I've given a lot of thought towards this pack, and I know that I'm going to break turn 4, so I'm not going to score anything then. I need those leader kills. Well, you need something durable that can also kill. What does that? Expensive models that are Terminators, Wraithguards, Ogryns, Bullgryns, etc. It was really just something that I hoped some people would take and say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna splash out on those big expensive models. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can still potentially max. However, yeah. So it's an option. It's an option. Oh, people are asking a few questions. I've missed most of them. However, one that I do see right now is yep, okay, so people don't like it. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
People don't like the leader killing. Okay, we can.
Yeah. So they are. I'll read exactly what Glimmer says here. Okay. Oh, first, Zappan2 asks, please tell me you're going to have a kill the leader secondary. I'm probably not. Or maybe I will. Who knows?
Oh, so okay, on to what Zap was saying.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it would be more balanced if you included the kill the leader as part of the primary. So basically, they can send their leader out to try to do these deeds of killing, and then they're putting them at risk of dying. Because so one thing on the numbers that I was kind of thinking just in the back of my head about the whole psychic stuff. It's very rare to get a single unit that its estimated number of turns to take another model out of action is less than 2.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have like if you were to think of like an infinite number of attacks, single damage weapon, and you're not considering rerolls, then you're going to be approaching, I think it's, you're not going to be getting over 2 turns on average to kill stuff. Like you're basically, it's going to be your injury roll. Yep. You're going to get the infinite number of attacks through, and then there's a 50% chance you kill them on turn 1, 50% chance you kill them on turn 2. So then it kind of converges onto 1.5 turns to remove a model from out of action. And that's with an infinite number of attacks with a damage 1 weapon, right? And so I'm kind of like looking at some of these stats that I had on the side, and you look at like something that's good at killing, like a Clavex, right?
Sure.
A Clavex attacking like an Incubi is going to be around 2 turns to take the Incubi out of action. So in the course of the game, if he's in combat every single round fighting something that's like T3, 3-up armor save, he's going to get like 2 points. But that's you're taking one of the most killing melee models in the game, and you're assuming that they're in melee the whole game. So it's kind of like they're going to potentially get 2 points. And even somebody with like a plasma gun will probably be averaging around 2 turns to kill something. But since it's ranged, it's a safer assumption to assume they're ranged. So like really the top tier stuff on average will be getting 2 points from this. So I think even having just a 1 point built in for removing the leader out taking the leader out of action might kind of help balance if you don't have a leader that can kill anything, you can kind of cut your losses to like being down 1 point and just take their leader out while keeping your leader safe. And I think that might add a good amount to it.
Okay. So you're saying add a 5th potential primary of killing the leader?
Or you could just keep it in the primary of the leader. Like every time your leader takes somebody out of action, you get a point. And then if your leader dies, you could either say you lose a point, or if it's too confusing to add the concept of losing a point for having your leader die, you can say just the other guy gets a point. But I think it could be packaged into the leader versus leader thing.
I'm not really seeing the benefit of that. I mean, so as people are saying in the chat there, if you keep the cut off the head secondary, which is kill the leader, does that not kind of like as somebody else is saying, you can almost play list chicken? Am I going to take my Terminator leader, who obviously is going to be out in front, and therefore you do want to take cut off the head, or am I going to be taking my colors that I'm hiding, and therefore you're never going to score cut off the head, but equally I'm not going to be getting those points?
Yeah, so maybe let's save that discussion until you do the big reveal on secondaries and the special way that you deal with that.
Cool. Okay, so those are the primaries. There you go. I've been toying around with another one, but I'm not gonna. Oh, I should have said this right at the beginning, shouldn't I? Nothing I'm saying is set in stone. Everything could change. If I get nothing but negative feedback, then screw it. I'll just run Slaughter Zone pack. There you go. Like, I'm open to doing that if nobody likes what I say. I'm not precious about it. I did want to very quickly cover something that Glimmer is saying. He says that you are removing scoring opportunities for Heretics specifically. I got to say that's not my favourite. To which I just say, that's fine. You have made the decision to not take, the thing that the pack is promoting, which is taking a tough,
Terminator.
Durable leader. That's the point of it. It's a trade-off. Cool.
I don't. Okay. Yeah.
No, do you disagree?
I think everybody will have their own builds that they're used to going to, and will.
Oh, sure.
I think quite literally everybody's build is nerfed by this because nobody's doing this with their leader except
why
for
would you?
Alex. Right?
Well,
I think Alex with his AdMech has a leader he can run that can kill stuff with the taser goad, I believe.
Yeah,
he definitely is one of the few people that I see use that like lead by example tactic.
So I just want to very quickly touch upon something. I'm going to have to actually say his name, aren't I? What a weird name. Pony661 has said, the problem with being able to max primaries without getting leader, getting OOP, out of play, I guess, is that people will just play like for 4 turns and still max primaries. So that's actually a fair point. So the purpose, so you might ask the same question of, why don't we allow people to max? So there are 4 turns, however many points you are scoring per turn, whether it's 3 or 4, the way Kill Team has always been played is that you can score, a cumulative total less, right? So if it's 4 times 4, that should be 16, but we max it out at 12, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reason for that is because it's actually a bit of a catch-up mechanic. If somebody has an amazing turn 1 and it's pure dice, it doesn't mean you're out of the game, right? That is the entire reason for that, as far as I'm aware. And I wouldn't want to remove that from the game, because that makes it less dicey.
Right, and it's kind of it's a different approach to the game philosophically. Like the original game was everybody must hold things. Everybody must be good at holding things. And so because some guys were not as good as holding stuff, you cap it so that they're not punished as much for not being able to hold. The other guy maxes out on how much he can hold. And then they're trying to get the secondaries to matter more like that. But with your primaries, it's built to be balanced. So it's built to be every time you complete a task, you want to get rewarded, and the variety is built in to try to get other people's other armies to balance. So I don't think it requires the cutoff thing.
We could talk about that more another time, perhaps. I'd have to really consider. I like the catch-up mechanic because ultimately, what we would like to do is make the game less dicey, wouldn't we? You know, I have had games where the dice on turn 1 have won me the game. You know, and that's terrible. Anyway, let's go to secondaries because that's what people want to know the most.
Yeah, the big reveal. The so the Patreon guys already know this. It's like old news.
Yeah.
So I guess people just need to join the Patreon and then they'll catch up on this.
Yeah. So okay. So for anyone that's not in my Patreon guys already know. Well, I said it was a possible. I said it was all up in the air. Basically, somebody on my Instagram messaged me saying, "Oh, I need to run a tournament." Somewhere in England, and I was going to do this for the secondaries. And do you think that would be a good idea? And I kind of thought about it for 5 minutes and got back to him and said, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good idea. And I'm 100% stealing it because I think it's amazing. Okay, so basically, I'm not going to tell you which one. I'm not going to tell you the specific secondaries because they're pretty much irrelevant. Assume that you're going to get all of the current secondaries and a few more that I will make up, that I might steal from Slaughter Zone, BAO, etc. Talking to Pyramid, we chat about this stuff quite a bit. Ideally, they would become more balanced. However, the balance no longer matters because... I don't know what I ended up calling it. Basically, secondaries are now going to be open pick. So you could take any, much like LVO did. There is no restriction to 6 secondaries. You can pick any secondary. However, throughout the entire tournament, you can only pick each secondary once. So they are, eliminating secondaries. Open pick eliminating secondaries, something like that. So the reason I fell in love with this idea is because everybody knows that there are some auto take secondaries, and it was why I hated open pick secondaries, because it wasn't really open pick. It was people that had done their work, done their research, and said, oh, actually, this secondary is super easy to score. Let's say recon sweep, or let's on one map maybe scout the field on another, whatever. Engage on all fronts. Depending on your makeup, etc. It was an auto take because it was so easy to score. You had the models. It didn't matter about getting to that 50-50 injury roll. It was just, I could score. So, when then trying to cut down the objectives to try and make pods, pods of 6, which is how the original arena did it. Adepticon... what's it called? Annihilation Pack did it. And how other packs have attempted to balance it. I kind of... With only 6 secondaries, you cannot make it balanced for everyone. Okay? The other thing is I would never consider myself smart enough to be able to balance something that well. And to go into that much detail. So, what I have done instead is say, you know what? You can keep the broken secondaries. You can keep the auto picks. You can only take them once. So now the question becomes, do you know your auto pick secondaries from the current packs? Let's say it is Recon Sweep, because that's a name I can remember. Let's say you know that's easy because you could drop 3 Scions into the enemy's lines and just leave them there for the rest of the game. Okay, great. When are you going to use it? Are you going to use it in your first game? And, ensure that you ensure as much as you possibly can that you get an easy win? All those easy 3 secondary points? Or are you going to hold it back because maybe it's a local game, some of the players there just are better than you, so you're going to hold it for them? Maybe you're going to hold it back for a faction. Let's say Tyranids. Maybe you know that there's just nothing you can do against that 20-man swarm. And so you hold back your Flamerlist and... what's the words? Flamerlist and Death from Afar. Right? That's like, boom. Auto score, practically. Maybe you're going to hold it back for that. Maybe you're going to hold it back for the final. You know you're getting to that final. You're good enough. But the final, who knows what you're going to face? Who knows who you're going to face? You need to have your auto picks for that final. And that's pretty much it. The secondaries themselves are going to be probably... Well, I am going to remove a few, and I am going to add a few. I am going to keep them relatively even between positional and kills. So... Yeah, I don't want to make it too difficult a decision by the 5th game. You know, I don't want to make people... you're not going to have to use every single secondary. You're going to have options throughout the entire thing. So I guess we'd probably end up with, let's say, just in case the tournament goes to 6 rounds, if there's, let's say, 24 secondaries? Around that number. So you're going to have a little bit of flexibility. And that's it, really. Yeah. There you go. Oh, some people have very quickly asked questions. Glimmer, how many rounds? So currently most tournaments are doing 5 rounds. It is, however, possible to do more. But if you were to ever do more than 6 rounds in a day, you're insane. So I suspect what would happen is it would then become a 2-day tournament, and as the games go over to the second day, you just reset the secondaries if you get to more games than you can actually have secondaries. Because equally, I'm not just going to go crazy with secondaries. I'm not just going to give you 50, because that wouldn't make any sense. It's still going to be quite a tight pick. Because if it just goes crazy, what's the point? They still need to have some balance, you know. Is this tracked individually? Yeah, so everybody on the scoring sheet, everybody, much like they do now, will have to write down their 3 secondaries they pick. And so it will be quite easy to go around, read everybody's secondaries and say, oh, you picked Annihilation twice. You can't do that, you know. Equally, the way that I would recommend people keep track of it is when you print out your thing, your pack. As you go through, as you write on the score sheet, your secondaries, just put a line through the one that you picked from the front of the pack, so that you know you can't pick it again. That's what I will be doing for mine. Okay, done. We do have one last question though. Are you doing pure Swiss or Swiss cut? If you're doing cut, would a player need to be undefeated for the cut? I haven't decided yet, Ed. So currently, this obviously depends on ticket sales. And it's going to depend on number of rounds. If for some reason we sell enough tickets that we have to go to 6 or more rounds, there will be a cut. Because I don't expect everybody want to play 6 rounds in a day. That's a bit crazy. If it's just 5 games, I suspect we're just going to do Swiss. I don't think there needs to be a top cut. Yeah, there you go. Because, of course, the second day is its own separate tournament. So then, if day 2 was the same tournament, I do a cut. And that is it. You tie my shoes. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I actually originally was thinking about something, and then I realized it wasn't working, so I was a little distracted by that. But I think, yeah, so I saw this a while ago, and conceptually, I really like the idea. The first thing I thought of when you mentioned it was kind of like how video games deal with things. So like you have like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, and they release these new heroes that are overpowered, and then the way they deal with it is they just have a way to remove those heroes from the pool. So what they have is like a banning draft. And this is this is like a banning draft, but you're banning your own secondaries by picking them yourself. So there's a little bit of strategy in that, and so that's cool. I
Just
think
quickly on that note, I had considered a draft format for secondaries, and I've actually played that, and it was really good fun, but it took a long time. So I didn't want to add that on top of the time. Yeah, and just to quickly answer Kill Team Stream, who's laughing at me, I will police it. That's fine. 20 minutes into the round, I'll walk around, check everybody's secondaries. There you go. Continue. Thank you.
Yeah, and so yeah, as an idea, I really like it, and so I'm gonna do my normal thing that I do with all these guys that release the new packets, and that's kind of review some of the things that could be gotchas to people. And so I think the first thing, I'm curious to see what people online think about this. But so if you bear with me a little bit, so if we go back to the whole gatekeeper concept, right? You have like a Tau list or something. The reason why a gatekeeper list like Tau might not be fun to play against is in a tournament, the Tau can beat like everybody except for maybe one army, right? And I don't think Tau would do very well against Elder. And you notice, a lot of these tournaments, you have like the Elder players that are winning. So I think a lot of good Tau players are like, oh, I don't want to go against all these Banshees that ignore my greater good. So I'm not going to pick Tau because I don't win. I won't win the whole thing. But if somebody picked Tau, they could probably like guarantee win almost all their matchups that are not a hard counter. And so then that's why going against a gatekeeper is not fun, is because even though they don't necessarily have a chance of winning the tournament, they're still going to knock you out of the tournament. And so the reason I bring that up is the idea of like banning your own secondaries can kind of run into that gatekeepery type of problem, in the sense that some people, like, you're going to pick your secondaries based on who you're going against, but you're not in control of whether or not you go against the same army, right? So like you were talking earlier about, I think, like saving your like one objective until you go against one secondary until you go against Tyranids. But then what happens if you go against Tyranids game 1 and then game 2? You're not really in control of that. And then that game 2 is almost like it's like the same thing with the gatekeeper, where there's just like one thing that you just can't beat, and then you're not going to get by that, and that's just because you happen to go against the same army twice. That's kind of like my initial thought on it.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on the fact that some people are going to have very different distributions on who they're going against?
I have no thoughts on that. So that to me is already an issue. For example, at the last Bad Moon tournament, first place was Harlequins, second place was Harlequins, third place was Admech. Both Harlequin players said they were really thankful they didn't have to face any psychic teams. Same issue. If they'd come into a Grey Knights, they'd have lost, almost certainly, right? Assuming that the player was competent, the dice weren't crazy. So it's already a factor. I don't think that this exacerbates it in any way. Some lists already have really tough matchups. If you want to throw it the other way, you could argue that this actually levels the playing field, because chances are your counter isn't like, so you're not, there are no two lists that counter each other, right? So right, in that same example of a Harlequin against a Grey Knight, right? Well, that's a big issue for the Harlequin player, not so much for the Grey Knight. The Grey Knight's going to take the harder to get secondaries to get them out of the way. Whereas the Harlequin realizes, obviously, oh shit, okay, I need to take my auto wins now, right? We then go into the second game where Harlequins have to face another psychic team, right? There are still good secondaries. The idea that if you only have 3 auto take secondaries, things have gone poorly for you, right? You are still going to have options. They might not be as good. You are effectively now playing the same game but on hard mode instead of easy mode. But you can always score. It's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah. And then as you were saying that, another thing I thought of to your point is there's also now the chance that you would go against your hard counter, but then your hard counter already picked the secondaries that make them a hard counter to you. So now they're no longer your hard counter. So it does have a balancing effect as much as it has an exacerbating effect. So yeah, it works both ways. Yeah.
And also don't forget that this isn't the standard, well, I suppose this is a terrible example, using psychic teams and specifically Grey Knights, but don't forget this isn't the standard hold kill, where you get kill one, kill more. This is kill more, kill with a leader, which obviously Grey Knights can still do easily, but ignore that. Yeah. So that will have a slightly different effect to the MVP in that particular instance and example. Just to quickly... Zappa2 points out that will be a less than fun interaction if you catch someone slipping by. So basically, I've already thought about this because no TO wants to actually discipline anyone in a tournament. Because, as Kill Team Stream then says, like 99% of the time, it's an accident, isn't it? Like, I can't imagine anybody attempting to actually cheat. I just... Yeah, it would boggle my mind if they did. It's a Kill Team tournament. What are they doing? It's not worth it. However, they will. The only penalty will be they effectively cannot take that secondary. So any VP that they would have scored are removed, and they go into the tournament, into the match with only 2 secondaries. There you go. And yes, as Kill Team Stream points out. My answer there is not an answer that scales well. However, if I get 64 plus players, I'm going to have at least 2 or 3 judges. We'd only have to be checking like 20 people each. That can easily be done within an hour and a half. But you are correct. If people start trying to cheat, they can probably do it. Anyway, sorry, you tie my shoes. Did you want to continue or?
Yeah, I mean, actually, one note on that cheating. If people are interested in board games at all, there's kind of an interesting kind of like worldly experiment on this where there was a game called Dice Duels, and the designer specifically made the game almost worse to prevent cheating because he wanted to create something where you physically couldn't cheat. And so you can imagine, like, if you have like a panel and you're manipulating dice behind a panel and then you reveal, there's always the chance of like cheating. And so he specifically built the game so you could never cheat. And then there's another game called Captain Sonar where you actually can cheat in it. And
I've played Captain Sonar, yeah.
Oh yeah, so they're both similar games. You can cheat in Captain Sonar, and the designer of Dice Duel was like deathly worried that basically if he allowed cheating, people would cheat, and nobody cheats in Captain Sonar, and it became way more popular because it's a better game. So I think people can worry theoretically about cheating, but I think, like you said, it's only going to happen by accident. And I think that's the most important thing is inform people to check with your opponent and make sure you inform your opponent that they know this is how things go. Because some people just might innocently not have any idea of what's going on and not have done their homework. So you on your end can say, hey, look, you can't do this. And then
100%. I suspect at the start of the tournament, when I hand out a pack to everybody.
Oh, I don't mean you. I mean like people that are worried in the tournament. Just tell your opponent before the game, like just be like, the thing about this tournament is you can't pick the same thing twice. You know that, right?
That crazy thing that weird TO did is this. Yeah. No, it's a fair point. Did you have anything else to say specifically on the secondaries, or shall I go to the deployments?
One really. Yeah. So I don't know if you saw the comment I had on this. So like, one idea of how you can create like a bunch of secondaries. You start with your list of, what is it? We have like 12 secondaries right now. Is this something like that? If you look at like the arena pack, let's say it's 12.
I thought it was 18, but it could be 12.
Oh, 18. Okay, so let's say 18. Let's say you have 18 secondaries in your pool, right? And if you wanted to really easily make that 18 secondaries go to 36 without changing the balance of the game,
Oh yes, I
you can just
remember.
make it. Yeah, you can just make the secondaries be where, the first set are like you can score 3 victory points off of these, and then the second set, exact same secondary, you can only score 2 victory points off of it. So I don't think it's you can definitely do tricky things to create a pool to choose from where you're not screwed as soon as you use one. You always have a chance. I think when people give the feedback, unfortunately, it's going to have to be a lot of philosophical feedback on this because you're not going to run your own tournament to test this out.
No, we're running a few. We're running a few that are
Okay,
going to use that system over the next few months. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so when I read that idea, I felt like that was even more paperwork. Or paperwork's the wrong word, like things that I have to keep track of. Because suddenly, when you then go around... So in my mind, maybe I'm just wrong. In my mind, you open the front of your pack. You say, this time I'm taking this secondary. And you just score a line through it. Job done. You cannot look at that secondary again, right?
Oh, yeah. No, in order to do what I was saying, you would have to literally have another entry for it. And it would have to have a slightly different...
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would genuinely be another secondary with an almost identical name.
Yeah, like you would have
Yeah.
cut apart and then like slice apart would be the weaker one or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like cut gently.
So fair enough. So I think my challenge to that notion is basically just I would rather have more fun and better secondaries as opposed to similar ones.
Yeah, and I think Sheldon's done a good job of introducing a lot of new ones that people hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, no, definitely. Kill Team Stream, who was just left for a dental appointment, has put so much work into Slaughter Zone, and him and Birinid have put so much work into BAO. And I've spoken to Birinid about possible secondaries that aren't going to be used in BAO as well. And it's like, you know what? There are plenty of options when it comes to secondaries, a lot of which haven't been seen, and a lot of which are going to be pretty niche, pretty unique to certain factions that other factions just aren't going to want to take. But in this format, I think that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can keep moving on then.
Cool. So, Glimmer asked, do we know what the list of secondaries is? No, we do not. I haven't finalised it. However, assume that it is going to be... so if you look at Slaughter Zone and BAO, smash the two secondaries together. There you go. You're probably very close to what I'm going to run. I will add a few extras in that haven't been in those packs. And I will probably remove a few or possibly modify a few, because even though I am saying that the elimination pick secondaries self-balance, that's not entirely true. You're still going to have some pretty easy games, because I think that's what open pick does in general. So I will be modifying them somewhat. I don't really like auto picks in general, but again, I've gone with the eliminating open pick secondaries because I do not consider myself smart enough to actually balance the game. So I will balance it as well as I can, and then I will let the player's own choices balance the rest of it. Cool. So the final thing to talk about are deployments.
This is big, because I've been playing a lot of BAO lately, and the deployments are so different than the normal arena. But this is open now.
Yeah, so this is all open. Currently on my screen I have a setup in the background. To some of you this is going to look very similar to LVO. This is roughly what I want the board to look like. It's a mixture of LVO, but given more line of sight blocking and a little bit less... no, sorry, I said that the wrong way around. Is giving you a little bit less line of sight blocking, but a little bit more obscurement. So there's a little bit more rubble in there, which I think is probably a good thing. Right, how best to break this down for you? Okay, so there are going to be 6 missions. 2 of them are going to be pretty standard. One of them is going to be, deploy along the long edge. The other is going to be deploy along the short edge. Okay? Easy. Everybody knows those. How many, what's the word? Objectives are there going to be? Who knows? Who knows? Oh, I will also point out, sorry. I really like what LVO did with making the crates there infinitely high. Yes, Ed, they are infinitely high. And some of the middle ones I will point out as well. Now, this is not the exact terrain that will be used. This is just some terrain I had lying around that I've been throwing things together with. GameMat.eu is sponsoring the tournament, well, the entire event, right? So I am mandated that I have to use their terrain, which I'm totally fine with. They have nice terrain, that's no problem. They will be kitting out every table for us. However, they do not have terrain that is exactly this dimension. I believe they do have crates, but their crates are slightly longer, slightly bigger. And once I get that, I've ordered some for myself personally. And once I get some of those, I might decide this setup doesn't work anymore. So it might completely change. It will be similar. I will answer you there, Glimmer, very quickly. So, I recently came back from Prague. Sorry, Glimmer says, wait, so that means no elevated positions. I recently came back from Prague, and we used the GameMat.eu terrain. And one thing about that, well, there were some bits of terrain I really liked from it, and they weren't these crates. They were rubble, ruins, and they had elevated positions. But they were still in a similar kind of dimension to the crates. So, don't know. Will there be elevated positions? It's going to wait until I get my hands on the game mat terrain, the actual terrain. I would like there to be elevated positions. However, I'm okay if there aren't. Because honestly, I've been playing on this map that you see behind me for a bit now. And it's quite nice. It's a very tight game. Similar to Arena being a very tight game, in the sense that you have to actually pay attention to base sizes, etc, etc. I attempted to create a kind of 3-lane setup, similar to how, or I was inspired by MOBAs. You've got to kind of pick a lane, go for it. But one of the big issues I had with the LVO terrain was that there was no line of sight blocking at all down any of the sides, which was just incredibly frustrating for everybody, I think.
So actually, Glass, one quick question. Can you clarify? So the northmost middle, southmost middle, east middle, west middle, those guys, can you see over it? Is it obscuring, or is it?
Sorry. You mean the
the thin
mean
pieces,
the bits
not
right on the edges?
Yeah.
Oh, those are just walls. They've got windows in, and
you can see through it.
You can see through. They are. There is a little bit on them that can obscure completely, but in general, it is just
when you hop over them.
Or what, sorry? Yeah, so you can jump over those. I think they're 3 high. Yeah, but again, we definitely won't be using those because that's all GW terrain you see there.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure, and I will ensure that you will never be able to shoot from one edge of the board to the other edge of the board without some line of sight blocking. Yeah, I think that's absolutely key. But equally, I'm aware that there are, obviously, ranged teams. And which one is it? Oh, hold on. I've got to open up another one. Is it this one? Nope. Yes, it is. Okay, so on this one, I think we were playing this so that the deployments were along the long edges, and you could deploy up to 3 inches in. And if you look at that, I have a cold. Sorry. If you look at that, this was you might think there's not many fire lanes here, but actually this was no problem at all, because if you're going to be getting onto those 2 central objectives, you can get 1 model out of line of sight on each. That's it. So and it better be a small model. Shooting teams will do just fine with this terrain. I've already checked it. Let's talk about deployments. Okay, so long edge, short edge, easy. Yeah, okay. So I'm then going to talk about 2 other deployment types, which are, one's pretty simple, but it's a little bit different. So this is a 6-inch box, is in each corner, and they are linked. So you know how on a current arena, I suppose, or any in the annual map, if you look at the deployment zones, one is red, one is blue. So one deployment I'm going to do is alternating boxes in the corners, 6-inch boxes, and they are going to be the opposites are going to be red, and then opposites are going to be blue. So each corner, the adjacent corners will be the opposite color. Okay, and the way that works is you are going to you are able to deploy in both of your colors corners. So you can split your team into 2 and put, or you don't have to, you can put all of your team into one little 6x6 box. But yeah, that's the first deployment. I've been playing that a lot. I like it. It's quite fun. Glimmer, as the board is symmetrical in theory, it doesn't matter. We'll be using the standard. Whoever rolls the lowest picks and places first. So yeah, but in theory, every board should be very, very close to identical. Identical is the wrong word. Symmetrical. Yeah. That one, pretty standard. It just mixes it up a little bit. I've been playing that with 4, 5, even 6 objectives sometimes. It's quite fun. I enjoy it. And then the other one, and this is the crazy one, so brace yourselves. Here we go. So, on the screen now, you will see a map with 6 objectives. This one is going to take a little bit of figuring out from me to figure out how I want to word it, but basically, whoever loses the roll goes second for picking the objective they place on, and whoever wins the roll picks an objective and you deploy on that objective. You can then also pick a second objective, but that's it. So out of the 6 objectives, you can pick 2 of them to deploy on. Obviously, you're still alternating deployments. So whoever wins places a model first on whichever objective they like, at which point whoever lost that, it's not the initiative roll, is it? It's something else. That roll can place on any of the remaining objectives. And then, obviously, back to the first player. They can either continue putting all of their models onto one objective, or they can go and claim a second objective. And then, equally, the second player can do the same as that, continue placing on one objective, or go out and claim a second objective. This one is the most different from any others, and I've played around with it a little bit. If you want 6 objectives, this is the only deployment way it really works. You need to have... I put quite a bit of thought into making sure that this wasn't just an auto win for Harlequins. So yeah. No, I've had good fun with this. I suspect one map will have 6 objectives. Another map might only have 4. So... or 5. I don't know. Anyway, those are the 2 kind of different objective deployment styles that
and
the
sorry,
LGT is going to have.
I think you may have mentioned this before. So is it capped at 2 objectives that you deploy on?
Yes. So you can only deploy up to 2 objectives. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, in this picture behind me, you'll notice that we are fully deployed in that, and we've only taken up 4 objectives, and there are still 2 left. Yeah. There you go. Did you have any thoughts on that craziness?
No. That is quite crazy. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was pretty skeptical about this when I first tried it. My first fear actually was, what if you take a 20-man list? Can I actually fit 20 models?
If
you can. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, easy. Because don't forget, you don't have to deploy wholly within the objective. You just need to have a base touching it, and once you spread out,
once you touch it, nobody else can be blocking where you're putting stuff, so you just fit them all on.
Yeah. Especially on this deployment, because of course I want to have every map very similar, and I wanted to have these crates all be, impassable. Putting the objectives directly under them scared me.
Okay, so actually one question.
Yes.
You know the reserve tactic where you just walk onto the board edge for free? The free one, not the 1 point per model one.
Outflank. Sure.
So not outflank.
Oh,
but
sorry.
The one that's just in the. So what is your actual board edge?
Pass. There is none. No, the board edge is going to be the entire board edge. You just won't be able to deploy into your deployment zone.
So like for your, I think the way that it's worded is that you place your guy.
1 inch.
You know what? I actually don't remember if the wording. Is it? You know what? I'll come back to it. Let me look up the wording.
Okay. So I believe you have to deploy within 1 inch of the of a board edge, and wholly within your deployment zone, which is, I assume, where your question is going on that.
Yeah. So is the
you won't be able to
objective within 1? I guess it looks like you can put the guy kind of within 1 inch of the edge and touching the objective.
If you can manage it, then you can manage it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So, you could say that makes the top and bottom objectives there better, if you want to view it that
for walking on,
yeah. Because the others definitely can't. I know that much. Unless you have a 50mm base, maybe. Don't know. Yeah.
I got to tell you, the thing that I really like about this, and it reminds me of Arena, it makes it so that if you have a plan of what you want to do, then just by your deployment, you can give yourself a very big advantage. And I think that's good for the game. Like, you want to reward people for coming in with a plan and not just winging it and seeing the roll of the dice. So if you kind of like look at these maps, for what matchup, it's kind of like, I'm sure it's going to end up being like a tic-tac-toe kind of thing, where there's going to end up being an optimal place to put your first one because you know where they're going to try to counter, and then the next optimal place to put your next one. So doing the planning, doing the studying, like the good players, the people that think a lot about the game, they'll get rewarded, and I think that's good for tournament.
Yeah,
because that's in Arena, and that's one of the things. I hadn't been playing Arena for a while, then I went back to Arena, and I was like, I lost this game before it even started because I don't remember how Arena works.
Yeah,
and all the strategies.
Yeah, so obviously you do want to reward players for knowing what the hell they're doing. I think one of the... So I limited this... So even though there are 6 objectives, it's limited to 2 deployment objectives per player. Because otherwise it literally became tic-tac-toe. Yeah, you're right. And it didn't feel nearly as rewarding to actually... Because then you just put your models down hoping to get the best ones, and then everybody ultimately ended up surrounded by everybody else. And either you ended up with the range guys staying as far away as they can, and then the melee guys placing, taking the objective right next to them. And it's like, oh, okay, so we've just alternated objectives, which wasn't as fun. This way, there's an actual choice to make. I will point out in the picture behind me, I think that my opponent deployed terribly. I do not think you should deploy that way. It meant I could just completely pincer them in. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so those are kind of the two big deployments. Yeah, there you go. Oh, very quickly, Glimmer asks, do you have to pick the two objectives before you deploy your first model, or can you wait to deploy your second model to declare your second objective? Nope. You declare it when you place your model down. So there's another tactical element there, as I kind of alluded to earlier. You could spread out and get the objectives you want, because maybe that's the thing you've already figured out. Or you could deploy all of your guys all onto one objective until the final model, and then suddenly take the objective at the other end of the map. It's entirely up to you. There you go. I don't really have anything else to say on the LGT pack. Were there any other questions or thoughts?
I gotta say, I think you left the best for last. I really, really like the deployment. It has, it builds in a lot of good trade-offs that weren't there. Like, for example, by claiming a spot, you're actually getting a pretty big benefit. Whereas before, by placing a model, it was a big detriment because now they know where your model is. So it's a good balance. I like it a lot. I really want to try that.
Oh, definitely give it a try. It's very interesting. I will admit, one thing I haven't decided on this particular deployment type is exact how many objectives I want, how far away from each other they should be, that kind of thing. So, these things are still in flux. Just because I am showing you a picture behind me doesn't mean that is how it's going to look on the day. But that is a general idea of what you can expect. For example, I played this, had really good fun, but it might not be the final iteration, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, and then, just random thought that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Don't want to drag on too much, but I think doesn't scout the field depend on which side your table edge is? So I think, maybe it's probably worth reviewing some of those secondaries, because this honestly could be a fix to scout the field, in the sense that, if you have to get 3 table edges, and then by deploying on a spot, it completely blocks that whole edge from being scoutable, then there's if you take scout the field, you basically have to deploy on one of the middle rows. I think that's a pretty good fix for scout the field. Does that make sense?
As scout the field is worded now, wouldn't this just mean that you can just put one model in each corner and score it, because your deployment zone isn't touching any of the edges, right?
Yeah. So if you tweaked the wording to scout the field to where, instead of saying your deployment zone edge doesn't count, you just say the edge closest to your deployment zone doesn't count.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Then it could really kind of fix it, because then there would be one spot you go, and then that's the only thing you can do to get the scout the field.
I mean, I'd probably recommend people just don't take scout the field on this one, I'm going to be honest. But that is a possibility. Okay.
Stuff.
Yeah. If there are no other questions, I will very briefly mention the other tournament. Unless any questions? No? Okay. All right. So this is obviously what I'm calling the LGT pack at the moment. However, I am currently having a chat with somebody that owns a hotel in southern Germany. I can't remember the name of the town. But just inside or outside, I can't remember. The Black Forest. I can't remember what that's called in German, but I won't say it. It'll probably be very offensive. We've got the thumbs up. He said it's definitely going ahead. Because he owns the hotel, we can basically run ramshot over the place. Have as much space as we want or need. The first goal is get 32 tickets sold. After that, we have a think. Do we want to expand, get more out there, or do we want to say 32 is enough? Let's see what we can do with that. But I'm pretty excited for that. Because, yeah, I don't know. I'm just pretty excited for that. The idea that it will be entirely my own thing. It's his thing. But I have free reign over the tournament. Whereas with this one, obviously, or that is its own thing, whatever it ends up being called. Whereas this current LGT is the London Grand Tournament. So it is, even though the Kilty pack is entirely mine, and the host of the tournament, Zach, is a great guy. Not a bad word to say about him. But, it is theirs, and I am just the host, essentially. Yeah. So I'm pretty hyped for that, I've got to say. But I'm not even going to think about it until after the LGT. Another quick note is that both the LGT and this German place, and hopefully a hell of a lot more, is I'm going to be streaming a lot more games. But definitely at those two tournaments. Assuming that I can actually get the internet connection to stream. Having seen how much hassle it was at SoCal, I'm not convinced it's going to happen, but we'll see. And the final thing is, and this is in no way confirmed, but Mr. Biranid is attempting to make it over here for both. We don't know if that's confirmed. Well, no, sorry, it's definitely not confirmed. Let's be very clear on that. But he's looking into it. It might happen. It depends. But it's not like it's a no from him. It'd be awesome. If he comes over, he can play or he can be on stream. It's entirely his choice. We'll see what he wants to do. And that's it. There you go. I think that's the LGT pack summed up. Any closing thoughts and remarks, Mr. You Tie My Shoes? Or shall I just close it here?
Oh, well, my closing remarks are kind of what I said before. You did the reveal of the secondaries in the Patreon, but yep. the deployment stuff is really spot on. And I think, you're going to do some tournaments, a little practice on how the logistics of that secondary stuff works. I'm a fan of the leader change, but that's just because I've been messing around with commanders lately and really want the leader to be a leader. Sure. But yeah, overall, really good work.
Have you been playing the Kiev pack?
Actually, no. I've just been doing it in narrative, so it's kind of like hit or miss of one game sucks, one game is good. But it's
give it a try. You should give it a try. Yeah, definitely. And then report back to me onto just how balanced it is, because I actually haven't played it. So what? Apart from when I was there, obviously.
You know what I'm actually doing as a mini project? Just do a little pitch for myself, and I'll put it on your Discord. I am recosting every single commander, and I'm doing it because I have this little formula to calculate, how many turns it takes to take stuff out of action. So I'm just going to put it through a loop, have it adjust the costs, have it kind of settle on something that's a lot better than GW, and just throw it out to everybody to see their thoughts, and we can take it from there. But that's just a little side project I'll put in the Discord.
Okay. Interesting.
There you go.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. I dread to think what some of those. It would actually be very interesting to see.
It'd be interesting to see the deltas between what I say the points are, what should be, and what
they actually
games
are.
Yeah. Awesome. And so it's just a little side project, just if people want to have fun with it. So there you go. But yeah, great job on LGT. Wish I could go. It's far away from California. But who knows?
Nobody's I know. Barred.
This is true.
Yeah.
Not barred yet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I suppose the only other thing to mention very quickly is, let's think, the when's this going out? Yeah, so this Saturday, the 7th, there was a tournament in Bristol. I might be there. I might not. I haven't decided yet. It's down to whether or not somebody, a friend's going to come and visit me, but they're waiting till the last second to confirm it. Obviously, we've got the LGT in June, 27th, 28th, I think. We also have, if you're around the London area, I think we have a tournament a month, either happening at Darksphere or Bad Moon. Drop in. They are going to be running this weird hybrid of Slaughter Zone with a slight modified into a little bit of my LGT pack, because I haven't actually written my pack yet. Now that I've decided what everything is, I'm going to start doing that, but it took me a long time to figure out what I actually wanted to do. And so in the meantime, the TO is taking in aspects of the LGT, for example, the eliminating secondaries, etc., and putting them into the Slaughter Zone pack, because around London we're all having great fun with the Slaughter Zone pack at the moment. There you go. And that's all I have to say. This has been a very long stream. I thought it was going to be like 25 minutes, but here we are, an hour and 10 minutes later. So thank you very much for joining in, everybody. You tie my shoes. Do you want to say goodbye?
Oh yeah, goodbye. Thanks so much for the work on the packets. We all enjoy them.
Yes, I don't know if that was aimed at me or other people, but yes, good job, everybody that has worked on packets, because it's a lot of work, man. Jeez. Right, yep. So this has been Glass Half Dead. I hope you have had a good day and continue to have a good day. Please let me know what you think about everything I've said here. In fact, if you've made it this far and haven't yet commented, I'm shocked, because I've said some pretty big stuff already. So I look forward to reading your vitriol. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day.